Ever wonder what really separates a good runner from an elite one? I'll give you a hint. It's not just about logging more miles. There's a secret, a kind of holy grail of running form, and today we're going to go find it. Okay, and it all kicks off with this wild idea. To run faster, you actually have to break a fundamental rule of running. Sounds crazy, right? So, what is this rule? And, the big question is, how in the world do we break it? That's the puzzle we're going to piece together right now. All right, so let's get right into it. What exactly is this holy grail we're talking about? Well, it's something I like to call the impossible combination. Here it is. This is the dream for pretty much every runner out there. You want short ground contact time, a nice long stride, and a super high cadence. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. These three things, they fight each other. Think about it. A longer stride usually means your foot is on the ground longer, right? And that just destroys your cadence. They basically cancel each other out. So that leads us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? How do the absolute best runners in the world pull off all three at the same time? How do they solve this biomechanical paradox? Well, I can tell you one thing for sure. It's not by doing what feels natural. The secret? It's not about muscling through it. It's about a total shift in how you think. You've got to stop reaching with your feet and, get this, start bouncing. Yeah, bouncing. This is where we dive into the physics of how to feel like you're literally floating. Just look at this comparison. I think most of us, myself included sometimes, run the old way. We're reaching that foot out in front of us, trying to grab more ground. But here's the problem. That's a brake. Every single time your foot lands out there, you're slamming the brakes on. It just kills your momentum. Now, the new way, it feels totally weird at first. You stop thinking about moving forward and you start thinking about pushing down, hard. You apply a ton of vertical force and Newton's third law takes over. The ground punches right back, launching you up and forward. See? You're getting a longer stride because you're spending more time flying, not because you're reaching. And the key to making this whole thing work is a concept called leg stiffness. Okay, the best analogy is a pogo stick. Imagine a really soft, squishy pogo stick. You jump on it, and it just kind of sinks, right? It absorbs all the impact. But now picture a stiff spring. It hits the ground, and bam, it rejects it instantly, firing you back up into the air. That is what we're aiming for, turning your legs into powerful, super reactive springs. But think about it. You wouldn't use the same pogo stick for a tiny little hop as you would for a huge, massive leap, would you? Of course not. And it's the exact same idea with running. The amount of stiffness and all these metrics we're talking about, they change depending on how fast you're going. So let's figure out the sweet spot for your pace. Okay, let's start with an easy or recovery run. Here, the goal is just minimal stress, right? You're not trying to set any records, so everything kind of dials way back. Your cadence is a bit lower, your stride is shorter, and yeah, you're going to spend more time on the ground, over 250 milliseconds. Just picture your body acting like a soft suspension system, gently absorbing the impact and soaking up the miles. All right, now we're kicking it up a notch to marathon or tempo pace. This is where things get really interesting. This is the efficiency zone. Cadence is up, stride length gets longer, and look at that ground contact time. It gets nice and crisp. You're just tapping the ground now. And that little window between 210 and 230 milliseconds, that is the absolute sweet spot. It's exactly where those fancy carbon-plated super shoes do their magic. They're built for that quick, stiff rebound to give you all that energy back. And then there's that all-out sprint, the finishing kick. This is max power, pure and simple. Everything is just maxed out. Your cadence is flying, over 190 steps per minute. Your stride length is huge, over 1.6 meters. And your ground contact time? Whoa, under 190 milliseconds. Your foot is literally just kissing the pavement for an instant before you're flying through the air again. So you're probably wondering, how on earth does the body actually do this? Where does this incredible bounce come from? Let's take a little peek under the hood and look at the body's hidden engine. Okay, first up is this absolutely amazing system called the posterior oblique sling. I want you to picture a giant, stretchy X made of elastic bands across your back. It connects the big lat muscle on one side all the way down to the glute on the opposite side. So as you swing your right arm back, you're stretching that band and loading up your left glute, just like pulling back a catapult. And when you release it, boom, you get this powerful leg extension, and it's basically free energy. It's propulsion that costs you zero extra time on the ground. The second part of this hidden engine is something called the hip oval. Simply by rotating your pelvis a little as you run, you're adding inches to your stride. It's just simple geometry. But wait, here's the real magic trick. That rotation is what makes it possible for your foot to land directly underneath your center of mass, instead of way out in front. And what does that do? It completely gets rid of that braking force we talked about. That's a game changer for getting your ground contact time down.
Okay, so all this theory is fantastic, right? But the real question is, how do we actually start doing it? Let's get practical. I've got some simple cues and drills you can use to start putting all this into practice.
First up, a really great mental cue. I want you to imagine there's a little balloon on the ground right where your foot is about to land. Your only job is to pop the balloon. Think of a sharp, fast, downward step to pop it. That simple thought encourages that quick vertical force that we need. Okay, cue number 2 is all about your posture. The phrase to remember is run tall, fall forward. So you're thinking about a nice, tall spine, and then you introduce a slight controlled lean. But, and this is key, it's a lean from your ankles, not your waist. When you get that right, you're letting gravity help you out. It starts pulling you forward, and your legs just have to move to keep up.
And here are 3 awesome drills to really build these skills. First, you've got pogo hops. These are perfect for training that all-important leg stiffness. Then you can do bounding, which is basically exaggerated running leaps. That teaches your body how to produce a ton of force for a longer stride. And finally, fast feet drills. You're just running in place as fast as you can. This really primes your nervous system for that lightning-fast turnover. Okay, hang on. I have to give a really important word of warning here. This is crucial. You can't just go out tomorrow and try to force these mechanics. If you try to run like this without building the foundational strength first, you are on a fast track to getting injured. And that brings us to our final and honestly maybe the most important section, the dangers of trying to force it.
Let's break down the most common mistakes people make. If you want a longer stride, please don't just reach your foot further forward. That's overstriding, and it's how you pull a hamstring. Instead, the goal is to extend your leg out behind you. Next, don't try to get a short ground contact time by stiffening or locking your knee. That is a recipe for disaster, like stress fractures. You want to keep your knees soft and let the stiffness come from your ankles and feet. You see, it's a really delicate balance. So let's wrap this all up. To find that holy grail of running form, you've got to change your entire mindset. You have to stop thinking about pushing yourself down the road and start thinking about bouncing over it. The goal is to become a stiff, reactive spring. You hit the ground hard and fast with vertical force, and you let that rebound energy launch you forward. That is the secret. That's how you get a longer stride, a faster pace, and become way more efficient.
And that is the one thought I want to leave you with. On your very next run, don't just zone out. Pay really close attention to what your body is doing, and ask yourself this one simple question. Am I pushing myself along the ground, or am I bouncing over it? Seriously, the answer to that question, it might just change everything for you.